What's good? What's good? What's good? It's Coach Brody. And man, I didn't even put too much thought into this one, man. I just knew I wanted to get on the pod tonight, do my thing, go for a little ride, grab my coffee for in the morning, because niggas is out here working a lot. I work every single day in some capacity. But when you serious about what it is you're doing, you still gonna find time to prioritize your purpose, right? It's like every single day I'm working, even outside of this stuff right here. But I still find time to do my podcasting here and there. I still find time to but when you got priorities, there are certain things you're just gonna make time for, right? But one thing I want to talk about is this anime and chill shit, right? Anime and chill. Like as a blurred man, I think that there is a lot of misinformation or a lot of stereotypes that come along with being a black nerd. And within those particular stereotypes, there are some things that are pretty common, common enough to say that I don't completely dismiss stereotypes, right? I don't completely dismiss stereotypes. But I think it's very important to understand what the imprint is and also the art of shifting the imprint, right? Now, in my opinion, being overly focused on what a woman's past experiences are to determine whether or not you two are compatible is some weak shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yes, there may be some shit that is out of a woman's control, out of your control, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it is possible to be overstimulated to the point of you not being compatible with an individual, right? That is possible, like that a woman can be overstimulated compared to what you have to offer. But where personal accountability comes at is knowing yourself, being yourself, and what I call strategic honesty. But just having game. To me, having game is having strategic honesty, right? It's not always what you say, but how you say it, right? And for me, I'm very honest and direct with the way that I interact with women, but at the same time, I use psychology to reinforce my honesty, right? Just understanding the mind because it's kind of like if you're playing basketball, or it's like if you go to the park, right? And you want to play basketball, that's what you're there to practice. And you ask somebody, you want to play basketball? And they say, no, but I want to play football. Now you got a couple of different choices there, right? You can acquiesce and play what they want to play, and maybe they'll want to play what you want to play later. Or you can just say, I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go find somebody else who wants to play basketball. And that's the thing. But check this out. Something that can occur is, let's say that the person that you want to play basketball with, they fit certain characteristics, and those characteristics make you believe that they're going to be somebody who you would have fun and challenge yourself playing basketball with. So sometimes you might have to call them. You might have to call them out, right? You might have to call their bluff. You might have to call their skills into question, right? You may have to big up yourself and say, nah, man, you don't want to play because I'm going to watch you, right? Like, it don't always have to be that way, but it's just different ways of enticing somebody to do the things that you want to do without being dishonest or disingenuous about it, right? Just something to understand, right? But one thing I wanted to talk about tonight is anime and chill, right? Anime chill and chill is a very powerful thing, right? A lot of people, they talk about getting a woman's mind and then getting her body, right? Or getting her heart, then getting her body. For me personally, I've seen, and not just seen, I've experienced and I've enacted getting a woman's body and then getting into her emotions and getting into her mind, right? Because there's something called inadvertent behavior, right? There's something called what I call being feminine dominant, lying. You could be selling a woman dreams with no intention of following through on whatever that is. So oftentimes, for some men, you'll tell a woman exactly what it is you're looking to do, and for some men, you'll run the more under promise, over deliver game, right? It's like the first thing that you see when you see that woman is that you're sexually attracted to her, right? Or at least that you're physically attracted to her. You find her physically appealing. And from that point, you want to interact with her enough to determine if you desire to engage in sexual activity with her, right? That's what you're assessing. It shouldn't just be an automatic, oh, yeah, I'd fuck her. And you've never even had a conversation with her. You can say what I would do or the fact that I'm sexually attracted enough to have sex with a woman of this body type with these characteristics that's appealing to me, right? But there should be, a vetting system of what it would take to actually have sex with a woman. And honestly, part of that vetting system, it doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be drawn out. For some men, it's going to be longer than others, especially depending on what you're looking for. But at the same time, what we have to understand is this: when you're interacting in this way, you want to have a woman desiring to engage with you sexually and showing you the energy that she desires you sexually through her actions and behaviors, and the way that she speaks to you, right? And her willingness to escalate the situation and to take it further than where it is as a precursor to you desiring to really have sex with her at all. Sometimes flirting is just flirting. And if it doesn't go further than that, and you could just be direct with a woman, or you're trying to catch her hand in the cookie jar real quick before you make that more solid approach. But if you set the precedence in your own mind that you don't want to have sex with a woman unless she's receptive enough to want to have sex with you, right? If you set that precedent in your own mind, then the topic of consent is not going to be something that's such a big issue in your life, right? See, where consent becomes an issue for a lot of guys when we're talking about like consent culture and all these different things is when you're a man who's willing to deal with a woman who has a lower than a reactive sex drive level of sexual attraction to you, right? It's like if we're talking about Brody's scale of sexual attraction. Let me see if I can find Brody's scale real quick so I can put that in there. Depression or maybe she has like different things that can affect a woman's sex drive, like thyroid issues, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It could be different things, right? A woman could just had a death in the family, right? That's just really racking her brain. She could be experiencing some very deep issues that if she had a higher level of sexual attraction to you, then it may not impede on your sex life. But if she was otherwise in a better state of mind or in a better place, then your sex life would be pretty consistent, or she would be receptive. There's just something to understand, right? There's just something to understand, right? Because not every man is going to set the standard of a 9 level of sexual attraction in order to deal with the woman, right? Oftentimes, a woman's going to have like a 9 level of sexual attraction to you in order to be willing to have sex with you, whether she's happy, sad, hungry, sleepy, tired, broke. It don't matter. She wants that dick, right? If she's hungry, she gonna eat that dick. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a certain level of sexual attraction that comes with that. And most men aren't really setting that as the standard. It's more of a goal and not so much of a standard. So when you understand that, there's also some women who may be good to you, invest in you non-sexually, may spend money, may spend time, may be invested in your goals and your dreams and your process and your program. It's just, it is what it is. But one thing I wanted to talk about is, see, you take it from the 6 level to the 7 level, right? Now, the way that you approach uh, and broach the topic of sex will play a role in the level of sexual attraction, or at least it can, right? Because it's not all about looks. Some of it is about the way that you present yourself and the way you interact with a woman, right? If you interact with a woman in a dominant way, like when you express your sexual intentions, you do it in a very dominant manner. Then a woman who has below an 8 level of sexual attraction for you, she's gonna get turned off. She's gonna feel disrespected. It just is what it is, or she's just gonna, just not be interested. But if she has an 8 and up level of sexual attraction to you, then that's gonna make her more turned on, or that will establish the 8 level. Like a woman can look at you and just off of the looks alone, she could maybe see you more around the 7 range or the 8 range. But her pussy ain't thumping just looking at you or thinking about you. But once you open up your mouth and she sees your body language, she sees the way you interact with her, that can raise up and activate that 8 level of sexual attraction from only an 8 level of physical attraction, which are two different things, right? And sometimes a woman can have a 7 level of physical attraction to you, and then that can activate, because physical attraction and sexual attraction are not the same thing at all. Like, a woman can see a man and say, on paper, he's a 10, but I just don't feel any tingles when she looks at him, right? This might be how she feels, right? Now, what I'm talking about right here, when I talk about anime and chill, like just the anime and chill paradigm of dealing with a woman, I'm not necessarily talking about using linking up to watch anime as plausible deniability to end up in a sexual scenario, right? That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I know there's something where it could seem like what it is. For me, I did things a little bit different, right? Do things a little bit different. For me, it would start purely in the sexual realm, like taking an 8 level approach, right? Of being direct, of being bold, then the woman to interact on that level. And then the non-sexual things will be integrated into the sexual situation as the woman shows interest in more, right? You know, when I talk about the biology first approach, which isn't the only way of interacting with a woman, but when I talk about the non-level approach, a lot of the times what I'm really referring to is, I said 8 level, right? Damn, I lost my train of thought trying to copy this link, right? But when I'm talking about that 8 level approach, it's just she's sexually attracted enough to you so you can be direct about your intent. Can put you into a position, can put you into a scenario where now you are putting too much expectation on a situation where that woman may have only wanted to scratch that itch one time. And if you get too excited, men played the game when it came to dealing with women, she may say, okay, cool. I know men like to say whatever comes to their mind to make me feel good in that moment, although they don't mean it. And she may just copy that same strategy. She may just copy that same way of interacting. And that's something that you do have to be conscious and aware of. So don't put too much stock on what she says. If it's a one time thing, she's a hookup, right? upfront about your sexual intentions. And then from that place of being upfront about your sexual intentions, now you are in a position to overreach non sexually. And then that can show weakness, that can speed up the process of her wanting to be in a relationship because the non-sexual value has jumped over, right? The non-sexual value has jumped over your sexual value in her mind. So now she wants something more. She might want exclusivity. She may have had sex with you 3 times, but because you spent a bunch of time cuddling up with her and trying to make her feel special and all this extra shit, that now she's like, the sex was good and I'm attracted to him, but I want something more profound and serious and deep. And it's not that you would never be open to it. It's not that you would never be open to something a little bit more profound or deep. It's more so a matter of it's too soon. You haven't vetted her enough to see how she deals with conflict, how conflict resolution works. You haven't vetted her enough to see if she reciprocates non-sexual things. You haven't vetted her well enough to see if there's a positive trajectory or at least a stabilizing trajectory between the non-sexual interactions that you have and the sexual interactions that you have. Because sometimes what can happen with a man is, baby, you had too much pillow talk with a woman when you hooked up 1 time or 2 times, and things are progressing too quickly non-sexually. So the woman may come over again and say, this time, can we just not have sex? I just want to hang out. I just want to talk. It's getting late. It's getting late. Why you wanna be here? Not sucking D. You know what I mean? That bitch gotta go. I'm sorry. You know, because you're giving inadvertent behavior. You're putting yourself in a bad spot. So there's a progression of this, right? And it goes from the hookup to the fuck buddy, right? If you link up like 3 times within a month's time, not 3 times back to back, not 3 times over a weekend, you know what I mean? Not 3 times over 1 week, but if over the course, and you shouldn't be linking up with a woman you just met to fuck 3 times in 1 week, anyways. You're doing too much, you're speeding shit up, right? If over the course of like a month, you might link up 3 times, that means that she's willing and able to show up, right? She desires to spend that time with you sexually, and she's not trying to switch up on what it is that you're doing and how you're interacting with one another. Right now, from that space, she is a fuck buddy. I say maybe a couple months. Right now, it might be a few weeks for some men. It may be more than a couple months for some other men. Right, but once you've seen that when you add a little bit of non-sexual things into the mix, that she doesn't try to switch up on the sexual relationship, then when there's certain things that you can do, right? There's certain things that you could do. Like, one thing that you can do before you go more into spending time with a woman non-sexually is throw a little bait out there, right? And I know some people ain't gonna like this, but tell her something you used to be insecure about that you're not insecure about anymore. And give her a few weeks and see if she brings it up to try to get an emotional reaction out of you, right? And if she tries it, then she doesn't get above a fuck buddy. I'm sorry. She has to stay right where she's at, because that's a woman who's trying to, she has a Delilah syndrome. She wants to emotionally coerce you, and sex is just her way of having access to you to try to feel like she's figuring you out so that she can get over you if you have a little bit too much power over her emotions, right? That's the Delilah syndrome. So it's just like those women who get online talking about, oh, I just want a man who communicates, oh, all this, all that, emotional intelligence, knowing that they the most toxic motherfucker in the room. But, and lack emotional intelligence, talking about how men are narcissistic, but the most narcissistic person in the room. You have to understand that there are some women who are like that. And with those particular types of women, it's good to not let them get anywhere close to you on an emotional level. Now, being upfront about your sexual intentions is a certain type of and level of vulnerability, but it's not vulnerability of your weakness, it's vulnerability of your intentions. And those are two different things, right? Now, along this process, let's say you tell the woman to come through and bring a bottle of wine, right? Maybe the third time you link up, you say, oh, come bring a bottle of wine. Or let's say a few times, not just the third time, but that's before she gets really to a friends with benefits. If she's a friends with benefits, that means that she needs to be spending money or adding value in some other type of way, right? This is what you do with the biology first approach, right? You take your time. You don't speed up that process. You don't rush the process just because the woman's attractive, because she'll feel like her dominance, right? Because you'll get into the feminine dominant if you do this. She'll feel like she is just so out of the box and so outside of the realm of what it is you're used to experiencing, that she's really better than you, right? She's really better than you, because if your freedom is so lacking in value to you that a woman sprinkling a little bit of pussy on you is enough for you to want to jump into a relationship, then one, that woman can't really trust you like that, especially if you're not committed already. Because all it will take is for you to get some new pussy, and then you're going to forget all about her. In her mind, like, you got to understand how that shit works. So when you go from the fuck buddy to the different things that come along with it, right? You got the fuck buddy, the friends with benefits, and then you got the and when she's there, you don't try to lock her ass down necessarily. You know what I mean? And tell her she can't do this, she can't do that. No, she is just a friends with benefits, and that's pretty much works like a lower level polyamorous type of relationship. She does what she does, you do what you do. Uh, she may say she just wants to fuck with you. Oftentimes, a woman may do that as a way of getting you attached to the idea of her exclusivity, as a way to try to manipulate you into commit a committed relationship when she has no intentions of really following through with that. And if it doesn't work quick enough, she's gonna fuck off, right? Or she may just come across another man who she feels is offering a relationship quicker, and then she gonna fuck off with him. And if you get frustrated at the fact that she told you that she was just fucking with you, and then she breaks that agreement or that arrangement, then she's gonna lose respect for you if that flusters you. Got to understand that, right? That's just part of the game. It's part of the course, right? Now, something else to understand within these scenarios is that if these particular type of women who move this way find themselves in this situation with you, you notice a woman you can't really take further, or if you're a man who's really open to a polyamorous relationship, an open relationship, a non-monogamous relationship, a swinger relationship, different variations of non-monogamy, right? Unicorn hunting, if that's what she's into, and she also knows how to prioritize you non-sexually, she adds value to your life non-sexually, and you're open to that type of relationship, then you just have to see if she knows how to prioritize you while she's fucking other guys. So if that's what you want to do, then you don't necessarily want to commit to a woman if you don't know how she's going to emotionally, mentally, and as far as her priorities, how she's going to respond to having sex with another man after having had sex with you, right? And you also have to check out my scale of sexual jealousy. And Brody's scale of sexual jealousy, it ranges from thoughts of violence towards yourself or others. That's on the far end, and that's an insecure thing, very insecure. But it can also be just a natural inclination. It's a natural thing. Like, sexual jealousy is completely natural. People act like it's not, they're being disingenuous. You see it even within the animal kingdom. You see it with baboons. Sometimes you might see it with different types of animals, right? Where sexual jealousy is a thing. Some animals are naturally polyamorous, or they're a community based. Some animals are naturally monogamous, right? There's certain type of birds that are just naturally monogamous. There's certain types of animals that are naturally monogamous, seahorses, all type of shit, right? But at the same time, what you have to understand is that humans are ambiamorous, but really probably the most natural state of being a human is sexual duplicity. It's not polyamory, right? Polyamory isn't the most natural form of sexual sociosexual dynamics, for human beings. Sexual duplicity is the most natural form, where you meet someone, you might try to stick together long enough to raise the small children, and then the relationship may disseminate, or you might have a nesting partner, and then if you're not getting pregnant fast enough, or the man might want to spread his seed and the woman may want to have access to the most dominant gene she can, then the man who can be there for the children may be who she nests with, who may not be the guy she's the most sexually attracted to. And the man who, when she's ovulating, gets her engines going, is the one who she may sleep with and get pregnant by. It's just like the rich man, and the rich man may be white and his wife is white, but then the baby comes out looking a little Mexican because they got a Mexican gardener. You get what I'm saying? It's like the nature of human sexuality is neither polyamorous with all this communication and all these boundaries and rules, but it's also not naturally monogamy. No matter what type of relationship that you choose, there are choices that you're going to have to make, right? Choices that you're going to have to make. So no style of dating and relationships is 100% natural. That's not going to backfire in your fucking face, right? So that's just something to understand there as well. That's definitely something to understand. So when we're going from this perspective, she goes from the friends with benefits to over time, and this may be a few months for one man if he has a lot of experience and can vet a woman well. It might be 6 months for others. It might be a couple years for others. But you somewhat want to let a woman take a little bit of the lead with the going from a sexual relationship to a non-sexual relationship with the introduction of non-sexual aspects of how you interact with one another. But one thing you can do to slowly integrate these things is to have the things that you're into outside of sex as part of what attracts her to you. So, as a blurred man, I'm really into anime. Like, I love anime. It's a culture, it's a subculture within the Black community. And for me, I don't look to fake being into it to get women, but at the same time, it's something that can help. So let's say you're in the fuck buddy stage with a woman, right? During the fuck buddy stage with a woman is where you want to put her in a certain state of mind where she enters subspace. In this place of subspace, she has a heightened level of suggestibility, a lower level of inhibitions, and she has a higher level of feeling a certain way about you. Now, in this space is where you introduce her and invite her into your world. Whatever it is that you're into non-sexually, you need to take her somewhere she's never been before, and she needs to like it when she gets there. So it could be as simple as, and this is a very simple segue, right? Very simple segue. Let's say when you fucking on her, you got your playlist. Now, Coach Brody's sex playlist is I'm gonna make that and I'm gonna make it public on my YouTube channel. Like if y'all need a sex playlist, I'm gonna get y'all right. I'm gonna have some old shit on it, have some new shit in it. It's gonna have a little bit of Frank, a little Steve Lacy. You know what I mean? It's gonna have some Tyrese. It's gonna have some D'Angelo. It's gonna be mostly a neo soul playlist. It's gonna have a little Division, a little Rennie, right? I'm gonna have these things in here to get y'all right, right? And this playlist is something that it does to a woman's mind when you giving her some great dick, you're setting a great vibe. A vibe lights are a great thing to have because it sets an ambiance, it sets a vibe, and that vibe that it sets, it kind of takes this experience and it makes it a microcosm of her interactions with you. So that's what pops up in her mind. And what you want to do is plant certain seeds of things that you're into non-sexually that will trigger uh memories of interactions that she's had with you. Right? If all you want to do is fuck, you can keep it there. That's all you gotta do is fuck. But if you actually like and enjoy a woman's non-sexual, access, you enjoy her companionship, spending time to her, talking to a woman. Hopefully you like women, you know what I mean? If you fucking on them, hopefully you like them a little bit, right? And if that's the case, you want to be able to segue things into where you'd eventually get into going out on dates. And to me, going out on dates takes place more so within the friends with benefits range, right? Now, how do you make that transition from fuck buddies to friends with benefits, right? And this is where anime and chill comes in. Anime and chill comes in with the transition between fuck buddies and friends with benefits. So at first you may just have a playlist. Me, I'm the type of nigga where I might throw an anime song right in the playlist, right? I might throw it right in there. I might play Guts theme while I'm in the Guts, right? You know what I mean? That's just a real shit because I love Guts theme. And she might be like, what the fuck is this? If you're hitting it right, it ain't gonna make no difference, right? But when you have certain songs that you could throw in, sometimes I might throw my own music in the playlist because I'm a producer, I'm an artist. So I might play like damn, what's that shit called? I sampled Big O, right? So I got a beat called Big O. And for me, I sampled Big O and it's a very sexy beat. So I might just throw that in there, right? Have a little instrumental shit. But these things create curiosity. It might have a woman asking questions if she really likes what it is, and it creates intrigue about you on a non-sexual level. If she begins to inquire more about these things, then you're creating a platform to have something to introduce to a woman and something to teach to a woman, right? Because you have to remember that the recipe for feminine submissiveness is respect and desire. And the way that you get respect and desire is through good dick and guidance. Good dick and guidance. Good dick and guidance. There's no substitute for good dick and guidance. But in order to guide a woman, you have to have something to teach her. And the truth is this: you set your own standard about what it is that you want to be valued by. And you set that standard by what you lead with, not by what you want a woman to want you for, right? By what you lead with, right? If you don't want a woman to want you for your money, but you're leading with your wallet, you dumb as fuck. And you're really lying to yourself and nobody else. Because you ain't lying to her, she getting what she want out of it, right? If you want a woman to respect you as a man, right, and to sexually desire you, then what you lead with is opportunities and scenarios where you can teach her something, and also by creating sexual scenarios to display your sexual prowess, right? That's the good dick and the guidance. It's just that's just the platform of just your basic level of interactions with a woman. That doesn't mean that's going to be all of your interactions or your only interactions with her. It's just the basic level of your interactions with that particular woman. So that's just something to understand on that point, right? But when we're going from that fuck buddy to friends with benefits range, right? Another thing that you can do is play anime in the background, right? You know, and this is something that I used to do personally, right? Uh, one thing that I do, and I still do it. I'm not gonna say I used to because I still do, right? But one thing that you can do is I had a Chromecast. The reason I said I used to do it is because I don't have this anymore. I had a Chromecast. And what I would do with the Chromecast is I would put anime on silent in the background while we were having sex, right? And while I would put that anime in the background while I'd be having sex with a woman, I would put it on silent or quiet. And then I would have the playlist playing, then also have the vibe lights, maybe have a toy or so around, like a just a little vibrator for like surprise effect, maybe some handcuffs or some ropes, and maybe a little bit of lube, and your condoms. You know what I mean? And if you're into recreational activities, then you may have you a little bit of herbal supplements there as well. If you're catching my drift, right? It's just setting a vibe, but also be conscious of consent. That I don't suggest you partake in mind altering substances the first time you have sex with a woman. You can partake for yourself, especially if you know how to handle yourself under the influence. But I suggest that you don't have sex with a woman the first time unless she's sober, right? That's just for that's just the insurance policy, right? And on top of that, another thing that I suggest doing, and this is another reason why I like online game and online dating. Another reason why I like it is because you can have a like pretty much a manuscript and a transcript of your interactions where she's expressing her desire to come and have sex with you, and she knows that's the context of why she's coming to have sex with you before she's over at your house. So if you tell her to leave, if that's not what she's trying to do, It's not some situation where you're trying to invite a woman into some non-sexual environment, and then you're trying to put pressure on her. It's more so that you're inviting her into a sexual environment, and if she's not trying to follow through with that sexual environment, then you let her go about whatever the fuck her business is, because either she was dishonest or it's just something she didn't like. But you have to understand that in this day and age, something as simple as a conversation about consent, or a negotiation, or a price that you're paying, or whatever it is, none of these things are considered consensual, right? You can't really negotiate sexual desire, in the eyes of consent culture, but also in the eyes of a man who values himself very highly and has sexual options. You're not interested in having sex with a woman who doesn't desire you on a certain level. It turns you off if you're a dominant man. So that's also something to keep in mind. It's not just about consent culture. It's also about setting a standard of how much a woman has to sexually desire you. Instead of looking at consent from a perspective of all these rules. Remember when Dave Chappelle, he was doing his stand-up special, and he was talking about when a woman tells him, "Don't stop, don't come yet." He's like, "Damn, all these rules," right? You ain't got to look at it like that. What you can look at it more so as is flip the narrative, right? Don't fuck her unless she's damn near willing to beg for it. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like, she has to want it. Now, it's your job to spit that game and to talk to her in a way where she desires it. But just because it's your job to spit that game and talk to her in a way that she desires it, does not automatically mean, right? It doesn't automatically mean that every woman's going to want you like that, right? And it also doesn't automatically mean that you have to lie to the woman. It doesn't automatically mean that she's going to go for it, but it's your job to talk to her and to interact with her in a way that she desires it, and then to lead the interaction to a place where she is more than okay with giving verbal consent. And really, you want to frame the situation as if you have to give consent to her to give her some dick. See, there's a difference between asking for sex versus offering sex. And sometimes niggas act like they don't know what I'm talking about when I say that, but it is a completely different thing, right? It's a completely different thing to interact in that particular manner. So that's just something to keep in mind, right? Something definitely to keep in mind. But when you're making that transition between fuck buddies and friends with benefits, like I said, I'll have, anime in the background on quiet. If she sees the show and she starts getting interesting, like maybe you're in between rounds, or like if you're giving multiple rounds, also never leave with the A game dick. A lot of dudes get cheated on, not because they sex ain't good, but because it ain't as good as it used to be. And that's a word. If I ain't ever told you shit, keep that in mind. Some dudes get cheated on, not because the sex ain't good, because it ain't as good as it used to be. Stop leading with the A game dick. Stop trying to show off so fucking much when you just met a woman, right? Because some women will cut you off if you fuck them too good the first time. Some women, they like, damn, to the amount that I like this man non-sexually, joined with the fact that, like, she's non-sexually attracted to you, she's sexually attracted to you, and you're not offering a relationship up front. If that desire level gets too high, she's going to feel herself going into the feminine submissive space. And if she feels that within that feminine submissive space you're going to stretch her beyond her common capacity, then she may get afraid and run away. Because you have to understand that women also have this internal fear, right? It's a natural thing that's inside of a woman that fears being alpha widowed, right? Now, that's just something to understand. So sometimes if a woman has a very, very high level of sexual attraction to you, then she may avoid interacting with you to avoid being put in a space where her hand is caught in a cookie jar. Like, a lot of married women do this. Like, married women who are faithful, it's not because they aren't attracted to other men. Oftentimes it's because they have the boundaries to recognize when they have a certain level of attraction for another man, and they avoid interacting with that man altogether, right? So they're not going to take his number, right? This is a faithful woman. She's not going to take his number. She's not going to go have long conversations with him. She might even let her man know about the situation, not as a way of trying to test his, test his skills, but more so as a way of saying, this is that, such and such. Now, some men don't want to know it all, and their perspective is to play the ignorance is bliss, don't fuck with my happiness. And then there's other men who say, I like to have open communication and conversation. And by doing that, it takes the taboo away from the sexual desire. Because sometimes it's the taboo of the sexual scenario and the environment that leads to kind of like exacerbating this sin and guilt cycle that creates this addiction, right? It's the highs and the lows, the emotional roller coaster, right? So oftentimes when a woman can experience a little bit of a negative feeling with a man, any emotion that's strong, any strong emotion can be transmuted into sexual energy. There might be a couple of exceptions, but for the most part, any strong emotion can be transmuted into sexual energy and sexual attraction if you got game and know what you're doing. Like a woman can be mad at you and that could turn into sexual attraction. A woman can be sad that could be turned into sexual attraction. A woman can be laughing, right? Like you go from laughing at my jokes to moaning at my strokes. There are different aspects and facets of game and how these different things work. And that's just something I like to keep in mind, right? So a lot of it is really about avoiding those interactions, right? Or having the proper boundaries. Like if you got a woman who likes to run a tension whore game, that's not always a bad thing, depending on how much time and energy you have to spend on her. She may need her beta male orbiters to keep her self-esteem high enough to be able to deal with your dominant ass without getting completely depleted. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes a woman is faithful, but she will do a little bit of flirting. But anytime you reach out for validation, someone can give you the impression that you're going to get it, then they can take it away, give you a little bit, give you a little taste. If it's a high level, high quality validation or a high quantity where you get attached to having that on a consistent basis, then when they take it away, oftentimes it has a triggering effect to where you feel like you have to do or change something that you're doing in order to maintain a good feeling that you were getting, right? And that's one of the negative aspects of like the work husband thing and all that other shit, right? So it's like part of the game for that type of woman is to play the games with niggas. You see, a lot of dudes, when they talk about like what Alan Roger Curry would call a manipulative time waster, it's not always women who aren't sexually attracted to you. Sometimes it's women who are sexually attracted to you, but they're just running a tension whore game to get a little bit in their cup because they're dealing with the man who's dominant, and she hasn't done enough yet for that man for him to reciprocate in ways that validate her ego, and or it's a man who's a feminine dominant and he's not going to validate her ego ever, or it's a man who she is latched on to the idea of wanting to be with him, although he has no intentions of ever doing that, right? And in order to maintain her ability to keep fucking with this guy who's giving her this great dick, she has to have a guy she's talking to, getting emotional validation, social validation, or financial investment from, in order to maintain her mental health and her self-esteem during that process. So she doesn't feel like she's just being used as a fuck toy, and that's all it is. And you have to appreciate those men, especially when you're in the fuck buddy and friends with benefit stage, right? You have to appreciate those men. But I believe that to be in a relationship, you need to be pretty close to having the ability to integrate, right? And what that integration is, when I explain it, is when you're in your masculine dominant, she's in her feminine submissive, but then the masculinity that you've poured into her due to your time of the non-sexual interactions that you've had, the logic, the masculine energy that you've poured into her is starting to form on its own, and she's forming an attachment that causes her to have somewhat of a protective feeling towards you. Not like a mother, but just that she's considerate of you. It's beyond just her thoughts of what she's going to receive out of the scenario, right? And she's starting to think of ways that will benefit and enhance your program, right? Not to change your program or change who you are as a man, but things to add to your program, from a place of already excelling in your program, so that it can, you know, improve the quality of your life and her life. She's thinking about you as a unit. And you need to see that over a little bit of a consistent period of time, but that's where you're on the verge of integration. Another aspect of sexual integration is that the non-sexual investment that you make doesn't switch her from a taking to receiving place, right? Or receiving to, I mean, it doesn't take her from a giving to taking energy, right? For some women, if you're just having sex with them, she's kind of in a giving state, right? If she doesn't have a high enough level of sexual attraction to integrate, right? So she's in a giving space. If she does that for too long, her cup will get low, right? And then when you start giving her non-sexual validation and non-sexual access to yourself, then she gets into a taking mode where now she kind of wants to shut down sexually and to replace the sexual time she spent with non-sexual time, right? Non-sexual access. But but a woman who you can integrate with is going to be even more turned on and even more attracted to you due to the non-sexual access that you give to yourself to her, right? Understand that aspect of things. Understand that, right? So with that, that's a woman you can integrate with, because the non-sexual time that you spend with her is going to arouse her even more. See, that's like the difference between emotionally transactional sex or bait and switch, right? Because the bait and switch is emotionally transactional sex where the woman just leads with the sex first in hopes of getting the emotions later. But a switch where it's not really a matter of maintaining the sexual access, it's more so a matter of getting the validation of her ego, of feeling that she was able to tame or had the capacity to tame a dominant man, or to get an emotional reaction out of a masculine man, to get femininity out of your masculinity, or to get submissiveness out of your dominance. See, that's different. That's different right there. We can't really integrate in that place like that, right? Because if she's with you for your dominance, and then after she's with you for your dominance, she is able to tame your dominance, then she still desires dominance. It's just you being in more of a submissive position soothes her insecurities. Understand that. If she's with you for your masculinity, then her getting you to go from masculine dominant to feminine dominant is her getting you to go from the leader to the player. It's her getting you to go from the position of being a man who leads and guides to being a man who is just a gigolo, right? A feminine dominant. It's a man who she sexually is attracted to, but she doesn't respect enough to follow him. So it makes it easier for her to dismiss the things that you say, right? It's just like how a lot of women, they will bait you, bait you, because they want a negative response, because they feel like they're not getting enough attention. Like a child in school who isn't getting attention for making the honor roll, so they start getting in trouble in class, right? Sometimes what can happen in these scenarios is it's a goal to bait you and bait you and bait you, so that you can give them a negative response, a negative reaction that they can then dismiss and gaslight as being emotional. And really, it's projecting emotion, because the reason that she may bait the man is because she can't combat his logic, right? She can't think of something intellectually superior to say, so she just wants to make childish shots at a man so that she can be in a position to project her feeling of being emotional onto him, even if it's through genuine and outright disrespect or subtle disrespect, or insulting his intelligence. And if he gives her that emotional reaction of getting upset and then, throwing shots at her, then next thing you know, she can say, okay, cool, he's emotional. And therefore, because he's emotional, the things that he said are invalid. Understand that. That's part of the Delilah syndrome. That's what toxic femininity does, right? That's what a toxic woman does, right? But what you have to understand is that when it comes to integrating with a woman, that's where the non-sexual access that you give that woman to yourself doesn't come from a transactional place. It doesn't come from a place of, and that's the feminine submissive side of the masculine dominant, right? That's where you get more towards the place of integrating, right? Integrating. So that woman may have masculine dominant towards the outside world when it comes to you. She's feminine and submissive, but then she also has certain masculine dominant traits that you've poured into her that go into thinking about ways to improve your arrangement, to improve your lifestyle, to improve how much money you get and how you're doing your content. And it doesn't, and she studied you enough to tell that to you, and it doesn't conflict with the vision of the future that you already have. So that's more so towards relationship material, right? Now, when we're talking about uh like when we're talking about anime and chill, it can start from there to you might turn the volume up and be watching anime, or she might be interested in that show. And if she's interested in that show, you can tell her about that particular show and she might get into it. Now, if you tell her about it, part of how you know whether or not to take this further is if she keeps track of wanting to watch these shows with you, right? That's something she wants to do. And or, and this is an even bigger one, if she goes and starts watching some of the shows you tell her about in her free time, right? A woman can act excited about it, but if she doesn't take care of these things in her free time, which is almost pretty much part of homework on a smaller level of knowing that a woman can take the things she does with you sexually and then take the non-sexual aspects of your interactions and seek to study you and see what you're into. So she'll go watch exactly the show that you told her to watch and get into that when you're not around. See, that's one aspect of it with the anime and chill. Now, there's also going to be women who know more than you do about certain topics. But you want to make sure that you immerse yourself enough so that even if it's something a woman knows about, you may have certain outlooks, certain perspectives, certain things that you've gleaned from what you're into that can really resonate with the woman, right? And through it resonating with the woman and resonating within yourself first, that you give her a perspective of looking at something in a way she's never looked at it before. And it kind of opens her mind up to a different perspective. So even if she's seen that show before, it's like, man, she's looking at it in a different way. She might go back and watch it again or rewatch that episode just to see what you're talking about, right? Now, this anime and chill shit, this can go from just watching that together and maybe y'all be chilling. And if you could chill after you've been engaging with a woman and you don't even have to have the context of it being a sexual scenario when she comes over and sex still consistently goes down, then all right, cool, you in a good spot then, right? Then you can start shifting from the primary focus only being you're coming over so we can have sex to you're coming over and we're going to spend time with each other non-sexually, but the way that you feel about me, I already know what's going down. But you want to have enough of that going down directly because you said it to go down before then. And still, from time to time, you do want to say, "Yeah, come over, suck this dick today," or some shit like that, just so that you know that it's not dropping in levels of sexual attraction. Because that dominance, that direct type of approach, you saying exactly what you want to do, is still part of why she wanted to fuck with you in the first place. So don't completely leave it alone. I'm just talking about that process of integration and all these different things. Now, part of this process of going from the fuck buddy to the friends with benefits, and the friends with benefits may be where you spend more time together non-sexually, is let's say when she's a fuck buddy, let's say you've been fucking with her a couple of months or something like that. She seemed pretty cool. You know, you're in between talks when you're having, link ups and sessions. You know, it's pretty good conversation. You could tell the vibe is dope. She seemed like a dope girl, and she sees you as dope too. She really likes to hear the things that you have to say. It's poignant to her. She wants to have more non-sexual access to you. Then one thing that you can do before you move into the space of dating a woman. And listen, I've been talking for damn near an hour, and this is the first time I'm bringing up really going on a date. See, I don't lead with dates. That's just, it's not really my thing. You know, some guys do. I'm not mad at somebody who does, especially if you're more extroverted, right? But the thing about it is this: I'm more of an introverted person. You know, I like to do things that go within the wheelhouse of how I like to spend my time on a regular basis. That's inviting a woman into my world. If she's too extroverted for doing things the way I like to do it to be something that's appealing to her, then we're not compatible. Because if I start taking her out on a bunch of dates to show her that I like her or some shit like that, and then after I do that, now all of a sudden I want to be at the house all the time, then that's going to be a matter of, especially if you lead with that, you're not doing what you did to get her to keep her. So now she feels you're inconsistent and she loses respect and attraction for you, right? So if you know you were in the house kind of nigga, then here's something that you can do, right? You can start off with, like I said, the fuck buddies. Then, start off with the hookup. Then your fuck buddies. You might play a little anime. You might have your anime posters. You might be playing a couple anime songs. Nothing too crazy. You're not forcing it down the bitch throat. You might force something else down the throat, but not that, right? And you might just bring it up here and there, right? You might just make your references. You might just have some memes, especially if y'all like friends on social media or something like that. That might have been something she's seen before she even started interacting with you, right? Now, from that space, you know, let's say before you actually start going out on dates, you might run an errand, right? And when you run an errand, you have her, ride with you and see if she's excited and looks like she's very interested and just going out the house, getting out the dungeon and spending time with you and just more excited about being with you than what you're actually doing. So you might go run an errand and she just sit out in the car, right? Maybe the first time, right? And also that also benefits because you may not know her well enough to leave her at your house with your shit, right? So that's another benefit of it, right? But she's sitting in the car with you, and you might talk to her a little bit while you're on that ride, one of them late night drives or something like that. You need to go make a pickup, do what you got to do, head to the gas station, and you're just talking and conversing like on that gas station ride. You might start sexual and permeate outside of there. You might be playing something off of your playlist or maybe my playlist, and breaking down certain concepts and ideas. Like, you hear a certain song. Like, I'm a music producer, so I might start breaking down like you hear these kicks right here, like these kicks. One thing is really interesting about the cycle of music, right? And like the zeitgeist, things shift with time. Sometimes you can use some of them words that it's like that they just sound real appealing to women, right? Like zeitgeist, energy, shit like that, right? And when you use those words, it's like, let's say we're talking about the zeitgeist, and I might be like, over time, music starts to get louder. 808s have been around for a long time, but these type of 808s that niggas is using now is kind of different from what they used to use, right? And I like boom trap. That's kind of like the style of music production that I do. And with boom trap, I take some really modern kicks that have like a good thud to it that like hit a little bit lower in the frequencies, and within those frequencies, I'll take the high end of the drums, right? I might take a drum break from a very old drum break, right? And take each individual drum and rearrange it and do some effects to it. And I might layer the snare, I might not layer the snare, but I like that gritty sound in the background, right? And I really like that. And one thing about having very low vibrations and frequencies in your music is that they hit on like that lower chakra, right? The lowest level of chakra, the root chakra, right? And in that place is often associated with the primal desires. You like to feel primal, don't you? I like to feel primal too. It's like it's something that happens when them 808 shit start hitting your body, it starts vibrating and starts hitting certain parts of you. See, it's conversations that you can have like that really start to connect things that are non-sexual into things that are sexual, right? And when you connect those things together, it starts to you want it to permeate out from there and then get to a place where they become connected, and that's part of that integration process. And when you connect those things together, like, let's say I really love a good sample flip. Since I really love a good sample flip, I might play uh Footsteps in the Dark by the Isley Brothers. Well, I actually went to go see Alex Isley. I went to go see Alex Isley the other day, right? Now, I might play Footsteps in the Dark by the Isley Brothers, and then next play Today Was a Good Day by Ice Cube, and then afterwards play Them Changes by Thundercat, right? Now, a lot of women haven't really listened to Thundercat, but he has some dope music, right? Now, Them Changes is dope ass song, right? But it's that transition. It's everything being tied together. It's having a motif. The motif there is the drum break. You know, it's a certain level that I think on. It creates a feeling of consistency when you have a motif in the way that you speak. And this works on a lot of a deeper psychological level that creates a certain level of attraction because of the consistency in it, right? It's just like something that helps when you're trying to seduce a woman that you met online. Having a motif in the things that you say creates a certain sense of consistency, so where you escalate to the sexual conversation to set that up, it doesn't feel like it's disjointed and coming out of nowhere, right? It feels like it's consistent. It feels like it fits with the conversation that you're having, right? But let's say you go from going on a little ride, to run an errand, and you leave her in the car, you know what I mean? And you don't take too long, but you just leave her there for a little bit, you know what I mean? Tell her to lock the car, maybe got the playlist playing or something like that. Next thing you know, let's say the next time or the time, the time after that, maybe you just grab some food with her, drive through, you know what I mean? And maybe after that, you might just go to the Waffle House late at night, or before you get there, you might just go to Walmart to pick up some groceries. You want to see how the woman picks groceries, right? If you're going grocery shopping, see what catches her eye, see what she focuses on, see if she's a chicken nugget in the microwave ass bitch, or if she's a cook a whole ass meal type of woman, right? Things to see, things to notice. You might go grab that stuff so that you can come back and cook. See, then you're adding another element of the non-sexual interaction into it. While she's in that very aroused and receptive state of mind, what can happen in this place and time is that she may just in that place and energy space taste the food that you make. If you put your personality and different hints of your personality into the way that you cook, certain things can come out, right? I like my food a little bit, I like my food a little flamboyant, not very, like I like it to be a little bit plain to the look, right? But to be jam packed with substance, to be jam packed with different elements, different textures, different feels, different tastes, right? I like my food a little spicy, you know what I mean? Because I'm a little bit of a spicy nigga, you know what I mean? It just is what it is. I don't know what y'all mean by that. And I'm kind of sweet too, not in a sugar in a tank kind of way, but I'm a little sweet in the, I can be a gentleman sometimes. So I might reciprocate a woman cooking for me and I'll cook something for her. You know what I mean? And I might cook for her before we end up going out, right? Now, typically along this way, one way a woman might reciprocate is you might drop some bomb ass dick on her one night, and she'll be like, "Oh, you trying to go get apple? I mean, you trying to go get a Waffle House? You trying to go get, Denny's? You trying to go get IHOP? It's on me." At like 3 in the morning. That's a good sign. That's a good sign, right? And she say it's on her. That's just her way of showing her appreciation, right? That's her way of letting you know that dick ain't free. And if she knows dick ain't free, that means she's on a non-level of sexual attraction, or she's just a very pleasant individual. She just wants to show you that she likes you and likes your company. And that's a woman who knows that as good as your dick is, as good as your sex game and the way you interact with the woman is, sex is not going to be enough to maintain your attention. And she knows it's not. Even if all you're doing is having sex, her sex itself may not be enough for her to jump the line of all the other women that you could be having sex with. See, that's a value thing, right? Not like the high value man on some Kevin Samuels type of shit, but high value as far as your game, the way you interact with the woman just makes her feel a way to where she's willing to spend money to maintain having that experience, even if you don't tell her or ask her to. But you can set the precedent, like having her buy a bottle of wine or something when after like maybe the first few times you've been linking up. It's a lot of different ways of looking at this shit. It's a lot of different ways, right? Now check this out. Let's say you take the anime and chill to watching shows, right? Next thing you know, you may role play as the characters. If she really gets into the show and she loves it, she really gets into it. Now you might cosplay, or now you might role play as the characters, right? Or think of a scenario that you maybe saw in an anime, or maybe you'll take one out of an anime, do it in real life, right? And then have her watch that scene so it kind of clicks in her mind. It's just that motif, it's the consistency. This is some real shit. I probably shouldn't be telling this to y'all niggas for free. I probably shouldn't. But you got to add value before you ask value. So if y'all niggas want a nigga cash app, is $ Amari Ball, AMARIBALL. It'll say Coach Brody, right? Anytime I say that means I'm I'm dropping some game for niggas. That's what that means. Because sometimes there's niggas who into pimping, there's niggas who into game, there's niggas who into BDSM, and a lot of people be like, man, you be giving this shit away for free. Man, you should be charging these people for this game that you give them because this shit is valuable, and it is. And I had to live life to get this information. Yes, some of it started in my mind, but most of the shit, if not all of the shit that I talk about, are things that I've experienced and I've put into practice after it was in my mind already, right? Or I bumped my head and corrected my behavior and went back to the drawing board, tried it again, and then it was successful when I did something different. And then I recreated that process. This is called the scientific method, right? This is the scientific method. So when we're talking about these particular things, it's things to keep in mind, right? Now you might go from the role play, and the next thing you know, now you're having cosplay sex, right? You might be making home movies, right? Where you get that infinite sucking yoni. You know what I mean? Like infinite Tsukiyomi, get that infinite sucking yoni, right? She might put the face mask on like it's DSLAF, right? And maybe put in some Sharingan glasses or some shit like that. Maybe she put on a colored wig. Maybe she put on that orange wig she ordered Hime now. I'm so fucking excited for Bleach to be coming back. I really am. Maybe she got short hair. Is she gonna be Casca? You know what I mean? You guts, but you in her guts. You know what I mean? Maybe if you want to get on the dark side, you could be Femto. You know, one time I had this experience, and I got a lot of experiences like this when it comes to anime and chill. There's one time I had a girl come through. I was playing Berserk on the Chromecast, and when I was playing Berserk on the Chromecast, what happened was is I started it on episode 1 when she first got over. We did a few rounds, right, or at least a couple of rounds, but I think it was one of the marathon sessions that night, right? And I think we not fell asleep, but it was playing all 25 episodes, right? And it started when she got over. I think I might have fucked one time, or then got some head, or I was getting some head again, or something like that. I was getting that throat, right? And right as Femto was was committing pussy larceny, right, on Casca, I nutted right in her throat, right as the eclipse was going down, right. That was some wild shit, but it's those are things that create memories, right? Those are things that create memories, and those are just the things to remember right there. Like I love Berserk. I love Berserk. That's probably my favorite anime. And or at least my favorite series, if you're including the manga and stuff like that. But I love Berserk 1997. I don't want to talk about the 2016 edition. Don't talk to me about that shit. We don't, Berserk fans, we don't like to discuss that. But you can have experiences like that, right? And I have a lot of anime and chill stories. I'm gonna tell some over time. I gotta remember some because man, I was probably a little elevated in in some of those memories. If you catch my drift, right? But what I'll say is this, man. After you go from that role play to maybe cosplay sex, next thing you know, if y'all are getting along non-sexually, y'all are starting to spend time with each other, go out, do things. You might go and just grab some food from time to time. Just nothing too serious, nothing too extravagant. But you're doing that. Maybe Bonsai Con is coming up. Maybe an anime convention is coming up. Maybe Blurred Con is coming up, right? Maybe one of those conventions in DC is coming up. Maybe you're looking and you're keeping track of the things that are popping up in your area. Maybe a lecture is coming through, and you can take that woman to a whole new world in an anime convention, right, or a nerd convention, right, geekdom, right, and in that space, she gets to see all kinds of different people, all kind of different shit. You might go sit in on the lecture, ask some questions. Well, she's like, "Damn, he's so smart. How you even know what questions to ask?" Right, and it just makes her get even more attracted to you on a non-sexual level, growing her respect for your knowledge and your skill set, especially if you find ways to make money with what you're doing, right? Especially then. And you just have something to teach her, something to share with her, something new to invite her into, right? And from that place, now that's like one of the coolest dates you can do. You already know you like her company. You already know you like spending time with the woman. You already know that she's a reciprocator. You already know that she's down with the shits. Now, instead of going on some bullshit date to Chili's trying to impress the woman, or you know what I mean, or trying to impress her going to Ruth Chris or some shit like that. I don't know, man. Like shit, you know. You can find something that's within your world, within your tribe, and invite her to go out there and have a good time doing things that are within your world, inviting her into your world, right? And from that place, it's like if you want to, you can go from there to if you get into an actual relationship with the woman, then you might could do podcasts, you might could do content, you might could do TikToks, you know what I mean? Different things that you could do, videos, you know, it's different things that you could do. That, you know, there's guys online who have got a whole bunch of subscribers on YouTube, you know, having their girlfriend react to Berserk or something like that, having a girlfriend reacting to anime and then placing it on like Patreon and YouTube. You start making money off of that shit. You know, I ain't talking about wasting time, niggas. I'm just talking about, you know, going through a vetting process to get to a certain point where y'all can actually try to build some shit together. It's just doing that in a way that doesn't sacrifice your balls in the process. And I hope that part makes sense. Like, I hope at least that shit makes some sense. Because a lot of niggas, they see maturity as giving up their nuts. I don't know about that one, buddy. Right? But you have to know yourself, know what you want to do, and know which direction you're trying to go in, right? And you know, she might have some simps on her. She takes some real good cosplay pics. You know, they might be trying to spend some money on her. And I'll say this: to the extent that your woman has a 304 mentality, you need to have a pimp mentality, right? To the extent that she's willing to use either her body or, you know, whether that's visually or the idea of sex with her, not shoot down a man who she knows is seeking her out because he's sexually attracted to her. You know, to the extent that she has those tendencies, a woman who respects you is going to make sure you benefit from these things, right? Understand that. So, like, let's say if you're cool dealing with a woman who's on some OnlyFans shit, then you might be having some OnlyFans cosplay sex with her, and that shit will blow the fuck up right now. You know what I mean? Or she might just be just on Patreon or some shit like that, or you know, do some photo shoots. She might have some simps that's trying to get her some photo shoots to do the cosplay shit or whatever it is. Man, take advantage of that opportunity. Use it. Especially she tells you about it, she shares it with you. You know what I mean? Take them opportunities and you can move on and go to the next level with it, right? You make that money, you make them opportunities, and you move on, right? And from that place you get that bag together, you get those different things together, and then from there it's like you got something that you're building, you got a way to go forward. And let's say you're on that OnlyFans shit, man. You might, you know, it's so many different ways that you can take the things that you're into and move it forward, right? That could also be just a way that you reconnect with one another. Maybe that's just like your show that you watch together. That's the non-sexual time that you set aside, something that's sacred, right? Because, like, let's say that you want to keep fucking other women, right? Let's say you want to keep fucking other women. You have to have, if you have a primary partnership, something within that relationship has to be sacred, right? If sex is not what's sacred within your primary partnership, then that means you have to have something that you do with her that you're not doing with everybody else. If not, it's very easy to blur the lines and to not show appreciation for a woman who's down for you. Very easy. Very, very easy, right? So when we keep these things in mind, it's just ways of going forward with it. Take that anime chill shit and go forward with it, right? And there's gonna be some women who will try to, and if you're public about how much you into it, but you're also a sexual person, there's gonna be some women who will try to use anime as a way of getting their way into your draws, right? That's just some real shit, right? It's just some real shit. So, like, when you understand these different aspects of like anime and chill, and you also understand the biology first approach, and it's not the only approach, and it may not work for every man that way, right? Some men, you know, they get clouded by pussy real easy, so they have to like take their time and get to know a woman first or something like that, so that they don't get clouded in their judgment about the woman's character. My response to that is to get more masculine and to get more dominant, right? Because when you're masculine and dominant, sex don't affect you on the same level and in the same way on an emotional and psychological basis. Yes, there is the pleasure of being in control, the pleasure of being in control of the situation. That's a real thing, but it's not always a matter of that It's like 2:15 in the morning right now. So they may not be trying to get on. Also, anybody who listening, it's not some super exclusive shit. I just started this podcast not too long ago. So if y'all are some subscribers of mine and y'all want to listen and y'all want to hear some shit that I say on here, but that's just anime and chill. Anime and chill. Real shit. And if you're a man who doesn't require that 8 level of sexual attraction and higher, or you really like to spend time with a woman non-sexually first, then you can do that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you can't. At the very least, if you're going to spend time with a woman non-sexually before you engage with her on a sexual level, make sure you're doing something that you fucking like, right? Because doing something that you don't like, it takes you out of your element. Taking you out of your own element puts you in a position where the woman can feel your discomfort. She can feel how disingenuous it is. And by doing things that particular way, it's like, it's not really trusted, right? Then a woman kind of her natural inclination is going to be to take advantage of the situation unless she desires you enough to throw it at you, even if you're not being direct. Or you could be just trying to do that gradual progression, that gradual escalation. And the thing about the gradual escalation is that, you have to be very firm on making sure that you go after consent before you try to put that motherfucker in there. You get what I'm saying? You got to be on point with that shit. When you're doing that gradual progression, you can't just be assuming that because a woman is not fighting back, or that she's not telling you no, or that she's not, doing this and doing that, that she's automatically consenting to having sex with you. It don't necessarily work that way. I mean, a lot of situations in real life do work that way for a lot of people, right? And a lot of situations in real life, you would think that you would want it to be a situation where a woman, if she doesn't want to do it, she'll tell you she don't want to do it, right? But plausible deniability is a double-edged sword. You have to watch my video on that, right? One side of plausible deniability is that a woman may, like, one side of plausible deniability is that a woman may not really want to do it, right? But she's afraid that you will take it if she tells you no, and that you will get aggressive with her, right? Another side of plausible deniability is that, and this is different right here. Let's say a woman may be open to the idea of having sex with you, but she hadn't made up her mind yet. Or she wants to see how much she can get out of you non-sexually first. So she may come over, but she wouldn't come over if you told her what your intentions were ahead of time, which is like that 7 level of sexual attraction, right? Something to keep in mind. When that's what the situation is, you got to know what it is. That's where a lot of men can kind of finesse off of the friend zone, catch a woman hand in the cookie jar and get shit popping, get shit cracking, right? Now, another form of plausible deniability is a woman who will put herself in a scenario that is not legally consent so that she has leverage over you in the case that you slut shame her, or in the case that uh, she does some goofy shit and you expose her, or in the case that you don't give her what she thought that she wanted when she came into it. Like, let's say she wanted a relationship and you don't give it to her, so now she wants to feel like you took advantage of her because she only really wanted to have sex if she was in a relationship. Some women have duplicitous mentalities. Some women may try to use it as extortion. Some women may try to use it as a weapon against you. So that plausible deniability is a double-edged sword. Like, there's women out here who get drunk to have sex with a man on purpose. They want to have sex with the man, but they get drunk so that if the man does anything they don't like, they can just say that he raped them. There's women who do that with like gang bangs and stuff like that all the time, right? It's just plausible deniability. not everything out here is as safe as it seems, and that's why consent is so important, and that's why I also like to have a paper trail of consent that's flowing through the text messages. Now, yes, a woman can change her mind at any point in time and say she don't want to do it, but when it becomes a his word versus her word type of situation, you want to avoid them situations anyways, and you don't want her to leave your house mad and all type of shit like that. But at the same time, what you do want to understand is that if there is a consistent thread of her wanting to engage with you sexually, right? Like, let's say uh before she comes over, you tell her exactly what you want to do. She comes over, she does it. You are texting her and have a feedback conversation a little bit in the text message. She reciprocates and tells you how much she enjoyed it. And then you have another text message thread before you come over. Then the truth is this: you pretty much are in a situation where you've protected yourself against a false accusation at the point of, if she were to come out and try to switch up on you later, she could say what she want to say, but she came through, knew what it was, she left, you had a conversation about it a little bit where she was happy about what happened, and then she ended up dealing with you again. If she tried to come at with you with some goofy shit just to be spiteful, then in a court of law, her shit ain't gonna stand up. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not saying use that as an excuse to try to gaslight and do all kind of crazy shit to women. All I'm saying is this: you still have to protect yourself as a man. You still have to protect yourself. There's no way around having to protect yourself as a man. Not when it comes to this shit right here. Right? None. So let's keep these things together, man. Let's keep these things in mind. You gotta keep them in mind. Now, another thing to think about is, and really consent is a big part of why I talk about Brody's scale of sexual attraction. That's a big part. Because a woman can make a conscious decision to have sex with you without being sexually attracted enough to you for that to truly be considered a consensual choice, even if she made that choice. And I know that shit sounds weird. Listen, I know that shit sounds weird. Like, if you choose to do it, Now, my phone just died, so that was crazy. But I'm back in here, right? So let me see. What was the last thing that I was saying? Hey, what's good, Paul?
Oh shit, half-ass sleep. Thought I'd check in, see what you got going on.
Man, y'all niggas checked right at the right time because my phone just died on me.
Oh damn.
So I'm trying to buy these cigarettes for somebody real quick at the store. So I'm gonna be back in about 15 seconds. Well, about 35.
All right, well if I'll check in with you. I ain't gonna stay too long. I've been at work all day. But okay.
But I'm still on here though. It's about 35 seconds. I'll be back.
All right.
That was about 35 seconds.
I reckon so.
But yeah, I'm on here talking about anime and chill, uh, the levels of sexual attraction, and really a big part of what I'm talking about tonight is that whole process of integrating from the sexual relationship to the non-sexual and just how those two things get connected and how they flow into one another. Because
Mm,
oftentimes, a lot of people will give the impression that if two people they just start fucking with each other, that it can never be anything more than that. And it's often not true, but there's a way a man has to go about it. And I think a big part of the reason why things often don't work out that way is because a lot of men lose their cool and get blinded by sex when they first start dealing with a woman. So it's like they try to latch on to a woman entirely too fast, or they 100% detached. And then it becomes a situation where there's really no place for integration in a way where a woman maintains respect for the man.
mm, mm-hmm. Okay.
And
I,
also, I saw y'all who were trying to I saw the people who were trying to get on the call. Y'all can definitely get on the call. My phone died for about 2 to 3 minutes.
what you mean? The on here?
Yeah, yeah. I think I saw Craig try to get in, and I saw Denise trying to get in, and I think GT Extra may have been trying to get in as well.
Mm. I'm gonna hit Craig. Oh shit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I hear you just fine.
Okay. I hope it don't cut out. I'm gonna see if I can text hit Craig up and tell him to tap in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm talking about Craig Scruggs. I had sent the link to everybody.
Oh, okay, Craig Scrub. Let's see. Um, I can't guarantee I'm gonna stay long, bro. I went in work this morning at about shit. They wanted me in at 11, but I didn't make it there till 12. You know.
Hey, listen, I just
Yeah,
appreciate you calling in at all, man. I've been up here just kicking the solo dolo tonight. It's been cool.
yeah, that's what's up. So I got off. So I basically worked from 12 to 12 tonight. I'm
But
tired as shit.
that sounds like something to make you tired, man. I've been working today. I worked 3 to 12, and then as soon as I got off of work, I started getting on this podcast shit. So I guess I've been working from 3 to 2:30
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. You've been working all day too.
And tomorrow's even gonna be more because I got to work in the morning before, and then I go afterwards. So it's just like it's part of the process, man. We grinding and stuff. It's just man shit. But
Right.
I do got a question for you that I think may benefit this particular call, this particular chat, this conversation.
I'll see if I can give you a decent answer.
Do you have any like experiences or memories where you introduced a woman that you were just in a sexual relationship with, into some things you were into, like non-sexually, that kind of opened her eyes up to something new, or that just made the overall experience better? Like maybe it grew from there.
Um, kind of, but I ain't gonna say it kind of grew. Most of them kind of, it was a couple of them kind of took a step back, and the one that did kind of show an interest, I married her. we were we got married, but it wasn't because of that, you know. But even still, she would do a little research, and you know, that's when I discovered Gnosticism, and she would do her little research and look up little things, and then she would send me text messages. Well, not messages, but you know, little articles she found. And when I would, you know, get home, we'd talk about it. And I mean, but she's still a Christian now. Don't get it wrong, but you know, she did take an interest in it, unlike the others who immediately called me a heretic, which is what Gnostics are. Heretics and blasphemer, demon, and all that old crazy shit. So,
So are you like the so are you like the type of Gnostic who believes that the real Jesus was laughing at the physical one who was on the cross?
no, I don't think I follow any one particular school. You know, I think I'm still on a journey, a personal journey, and I am talk. You know, well, you know, I've talked to Brother Raheem and yourself and a few others, but it's never really gotten into in depth discussion with a lot of people because most people are only surface level of what it is. So I haven't really, I couldn't talk on that because I don't think I'm familiar with that. So why don't you break that down? Explain that to me. 'Cause that I have to be honest and say I'm not even familiar with that.
Like I may not have the most expert theology on the topic of Gnosticism, but
Hmm.
my most basic understanding of Gnosticism comes from just the idea of the physical world being evil, and that maybe the god of this physical world is the demiurge, and then you have the real God who is separate from anything that is physically created. So it's just the vilification of all things that are in the natural world, and then the elevation of everything that is within the spiritual world. And that's kind of one
Hmm.
way that I kind of have learned to break down Gnosticism.
I,
So
I,
oftentimes I don't like judge people for their beliefs, but I know for me personally, I see like I'm a person who believes in like integration. So like my spiritual perspective oftentimes comes from thinking of the resurrection and the joining of all things, like the earth and the world around us being somewhat shaped by the state and the collective consciousness of men within that area of human beings. And that when we reach a certain state of consciousness, the world kind of shapes itself to the state of mind and the state of being in the hearts of the men around it. So it's like the new earth and or new Jerusalem and the resurrection and the restoration of all things. Like when I look at it from that perspective, I like to think about the new body, the glorified body, and
mm,
those type of things. So it's
mhm.
like I don't see the physical world as inherently bad. I just see it as not as good as it would be if we were in a better state of mind.
I I could I can see your point there. However, as far as I know, I when I say I'm a somewhat of a Gnostic, I prefer literature that comes out of the Nag Hammadi to define that. Okay, now there are many who say Gnostics also read the Bible and view it at don't view it so literal. Um, but that's a whole lot of meat for me to eat right there. I haven't really had a whole lot of discussion with other people, but coming from the Nag Hammadi, not much is talked about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. You know, it's pretty much what I read is about the creation and his teachings. And some equate that to, you know, how we can, how do I say it? The metaphysics. of it, the spiritual aspect of it, and how these books are not exactly what they appear to be, and it's really all about us as human beings, and at pretty some, I guess you could say what you described as the world around us and how we view it and how we shape it. So, but as far as the Jesus resurrection, I can see where you're going with that. I would even venture to say myself personally, if Christ be within us, and I'm not talking Jesus, I'm talking Christ the Spirit, then that resurrection, then that spirit needs to be resurrected, and we may have to go through some kind of a crucifixion, so to speak, to resurrect our spiritual Christ to Christ within. So that's my extent of what I have to offer on that. If that made any sense to you or anyone else.
It did make sense, because I consider myself a mystic Christian, and that is somewhat of a term, but that's just the term I use. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of the stuff that I talk about when it comes to my content, a lot of it
Mhm.
started with my spiritual beliefs, like my studies of sexuality in the Bible. And when I started looking up etymology around these topics and breaking different things down, a lot of it kind of started with and stemmed from there. Like when I talk about, making yourself attractive for the outcome that you desire, I think about like the scripture where it says, "Wives, submit yourself to your husbands." And I started just thinking about that. And I'm like, well, what if that scripture is really meant to be a message to the men about carrying yourself in a dominant way that creates that natural response within a woman, rather than
Right,
trying to beat a woman over the head with a book saying, "Woman, submit." Like, she don't respect you, nigga. She think you a bitch, you know.
right,
And
right.
like for me, also like with the sexual stuff, I kind of like when I think about like the resurrection. To me, like my thought process is often about thinking about integration. Right? It's like,
Mhm.
let's say we're talking about the Garden of Eden, right? The Garden of Eden. When we're talking about the Garden of Eden, we're thinking about a state of mind of innocence, right?
Right.
Now, that innocence isn't necessarily innocence that's meant to be the full state of productive or the full state of being. You know, being going straight from innocence into partaking of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil is like tapping into a survival mode where you're exposed to comparative value, right? And that's what the knowledge evil kind of represents to me: comparative value, willpower, self effort, deception, coercion, and force, right? To dominate a person against their will, or to betray yourself in order to have survival. Like, so that's kind of where I get the masculine submissive and the feminine dominant from, to a certain
Mhm.
extent, right? It's like the good people would be the ones who are masculine submissive. They're lessening and dimming their light in order to not step on the toes of others to survive, right? And then you have the feminine dominants, which are the people who say, "I want to be in control by any means necessary." But when I look at like the feminine submissive and the masculine dominant, to me it's more so like the feminine submissive is that state of mind of abundance, because you can't pour out but so much energy without receiving something back in, unless you're experiencing intrinsic desire and intrinsic reward, right? So like,
Mhm.
let's say you're in a state of mind where within your job you're doing something that you would do for free, right? You're doing something that you would do for free, but you're getting paid for it. Like, to me,
Right.
that's the feminine submissive.
Okay.
But there's a period of time of proving your worth, of gaining the skills, of building the network, or and of coming by the right people in that place of time of feminine submissive, where you're gaining the skills and the ability to actually be worth the things that you want in return, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
that's what the feminine submissive is. It's just like, I look at the Bible scripture that says that a man will work by the sweat of his brow and then he'll
Hmm.
return to the dust. It's like, well, what if the way that sweat is coming from your brow is something that you enjoy? You've pretty much just bypassed the knowledge of good and evil to embrace the curse that was laid upon us, and to do that in a way where you could still give honor to God in it.
Hmm.
So that's like the feminine submissive, and you can put that towards God Himself. But then you have like the masculine dominant as well, and it's just different things that go along with it that are interesting to me. And I also think about like where it says that the man, like when it says to the woman that the man will rule over you and your desire will be unto him. Like when I look at that scripture, it kind of like informs part of my ideology, which is that a woman will never truly escape her desire for male attention and validation. It's just a matter of, does she fight against this, or does she give herself over to that and find a man who she can actually respect and desire, and then focus that desire for validation into a focal point that will actually push her in a positive trajectory? Or is it going to be split into several different focuses? So like social programming and religious indoctrination is really a bunch of dead men's opinions of something that happened thousands of years ago.
mm,
So it's
mm,
like you have society, which is a bunch of ideas of different men and some women. You have family and friends. It's a bunch of ideas of different men and women. You have, all different aspects of social programming. And these are a voice in someone's conscious and subconscious that informs their decisions. So when these choices and these thoughts inform someone's decisions, someone being masculine submissive is often having multiple different voices that are pulling on them at the same time, giving him the inability to tap into the feminine submissive because it isn't focused on that focal point.
mm,
But the hard part is that if you choose the wrong focal point, which is maybe a feminine dominant man, then when you choose that wrong focal point, where there's an absence of leadership skills and the desire to reciprocate you and the desire to have a plan that includes your growth in your self-development and self-actualization, then
mm-hmm.
you can get depleted very quickly, and it can go bad. So you know
Right.
it, it is not saying that being feminine submissive by itself is what everybody should do. Like I don't really see women as being feminine submissive outside of having a man to be that way with. That's why I don't complain about modern women.
Mm, right. Right. Okay. That was that was a lot to take in. I receive it. I don't have no response for it. Uh, well, like I said the other day, I enjoyed talking to Craig as much as I enjoyed just sometimes just listening to you. So, uh, that being said, bro, if you want to add on, go ahead. But again, I don't have much time. I need to try to get some rest so I can get up and try to run some errands before I have to get ready for work tomorrow evening.
Yeah, yeah. Get some rest whenever
Um,
you need, man. Because I'm on here just doing my thing. I like to talk on here when I do this
mm,
podcast at least 2 hours. So I'm gonna keep on
mm,
finding something to talk about. But
you,
I
you,
think go ahead.
you know what? I think I'm gonna try to send this link to Raheem. Raheem might be up this time of night.
Is
And
Raheem? Hey,
yeah, you met him in the Gnostic Christian group.
bet. And oh yeah, I like him, man. And I'll ask you
Yeah.
this right here too, real quick. Do What was your memory like? Like, what was your experience like watching Fist of the North Star or Ninja Scroll for the first time? It's like what went through your mind when that experience happened for you?
Um, just how can I say it? See, Fist of
Going.
the North Star, I saw a little bit of. I watched. I think I'm more familiar with than the other one you mentioned. It just the I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, bro. To be honest with you, to think about it now, what did I think? I know I was amazed with it. You know what I mean? I was like, "Yo, this is wild." You know what I'm saying? The 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 level of violence to it, I think was a little bit, if I remember correctly. Um, and isn't that the one where I think his father was killed by a band of people or something like that? No,
Uh, you talking about Fist of the North Star, or you talking about Ninja
no.
Scroll?
I think I want to say Fist of the North Star. I want to say that because that's all I remember a scene where um, they were like in an opening scene where they were like in some on some desert plain or some shit like that. And I've only seen it once, but it wasn't like something I watched all the time because we didn't always have access, cable. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'd be at somebody's house, or I might be able to catch a show when nobody else is watching TV. So um, I'm trying to think if that was it. There was a scene, the opening scene, weird. It was just weird. I believe that was it. It was just I don't know, man. I really can't, you know, say too much because I'd be lying if I even tried to be honest with you. So I think I'll just shut up.
It was a while back.
Um,
I know
it
for
was years ago, man. I've only watched it once. I remember other people always talking about how great it was, and I'm like, yeah, I saw it once, but I can't. But I do know that I thought it was you know, it was weird. You know what I'm saying? It had some the uh, the violence in it for me was just, I guess, kind of new for a kid or a young adult. You know what I mean? It's just I wasn't used to shit like that. Not that it offended me. It was just I put it like this. Have you ever seen heavy metal?
I have seen Heavy Metal.
All right. Now,
I
as
see Heavy
weird
Metal.
as
I seen Heavy Metal 2000. That's when I saw.
okay, I'm talking about the I don't, I'm talking about the original when it was just exciting and weird to watch all these little these weird characters and these stories and uh, but it was something that I liked. I enjoyed watching. The sex, the nudity, the profanity that cartoon characters cussing. Imagine that. It was for the
I'm sure
first
that was
time.
like seeing cartoon characters curse for the first time, and like I remember watching Ninja Scroll. There's some other classics like Wicked City, Vampire Hunter D. I like Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. Like that a lot. A good bit.
I've never watched that. I'm not a real big anime guy.
Then there's Akira. I think everybody's seen Akira.
Um, no, I can't say. I don't know. Maybe I have. But the one thing I did try to watch was Cowboy Bebop, the live action. You know,
You know
but I
what?
I, I couldn't really get into it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't watch the Cowboy Bebop live action, but when I went to Bonsai Con last year, there was the guy who played. I keep forgetting the character, but there's the guy who had the metal arm. The man who did the voice acting for that particular role. He was one of the two people who was doing a Q&A like lecture like seminar at the Bonsai Con last year, this anime convention, and
Mm.
it hope to just ask him questions about just like being black in the voice acting industry and about like politics in it. And he told me not to record. I did it anyways, but I couldn't bring myself to post it because I'm like, man, I can't do it like that. But I, I
Right,
I had to hear some of it. But he was just breaking it down. He also I think was on Star Trek as well. But just hearing his stories about just the politics and in the voice acting industry is like, you can't really escape being black in America. It ain't gonna happen.
right. right. There was another one they did a live action anime. I can't think of the name of it, but because I'd never seen the anime, but I saw the live action, and I thought the fucking movie was damn good. It was about a boy and this mechanical like robot, or maybe just a mechanical tin man or some shit like that.
Oh, Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes,
Yeah. Now,
that's
really,
it.
a lot of me, if you were to ask me personally, I would consider Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood to be the most well-rounded, best anime of all time. Like if you was to watch it, and I know that's a
Mm,
great statement to make, but if you ever go on like my anime list, it's this website where they have a ranking system. Full Metal
mm.
has been like number one up there for like a decade, and every time an anime comes and replaces it as number one, the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood people come back around. It's like it's a big thing that gets talked about anytime something back around. But you know what? I tried to watch the live action. But funny story, I was watching the live action movie, but I ended up getting a foot job, and I ain't even finished watching it. That's one of my anime and chill stories. I never went back to finish watching it because I started it, but after I started it, I got into some other shit, and it just I didn't end
Yeah,
up.
I think you should go back and watch it. I watched all of it. It was I thought it was pretty decent. It made me want to watch the cartoon, the anime, but I never did.
I
Um, there's another one I saw clips of that's like super fucking crazy. It was a Japanese gang cartoon, and I'm trying to think of the name of
talking about Sword Art Online.
it. No, that one keeps coming up when I try to type in Japan anime gang movies. It's
It's
not that.
some type of isekai. Uh, let's see, was
Uh,
Hack Sign?
no, Tokyo something. What is it? Tokyo Street, Tokyo Fight, Tokyo some shit.
Hey Denise, you can come on. You just gotta click on the link, and Craig, I don't know if y'all can hit them up in the if you can add them in the back chat real quick and see if they want to join on because they can tap in because they said they wanted to come in, but I didn't see these comments because nobody started commenting until my phone died, which is very convenient for me.
Okay, I can't see anybody right now. What is Tokyo some shit? It was weird, man, because in the clip, I guess the Yakuza boss or whatever, one of the guys made a mistake or screwed around and the boss didn't like it and he wound up fucking him. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? You know?
I don't remember exactly which one that was.
Let me look. I'm gonna see if I can look it up real quick. It's Tokyo something. And it was a clip on YouTube.
You know what? Like my love for hip hop and my love for anime, they go hand in hand because although I was watching anime since like before I could read, I remember watching my uncle watching like Tenchi Muyo and subtitles, and I couldn't read yet. And I remember Sailor Moon coming on TV and Gundam and shit like that. And I also remember just growing up watching Afro Samurai, and then watching the behind the scenes of the RZA doing the soundtrack for Afro Samurai. And that was some years after I watched Kill Bill. And on Kill Bill, I watched the behind the scenes, and uh, the RZA he did the soundtrack for Kill Bill as well. So it's like my connection to it. It's like there's this scene in Kill Bill where you have what's her name, Lucy Liu, her character became a they created an anime scene within the movie which was like groundbreaking for me, and it was just the scene of how she became an assassin as a young girl, where they was trying to
Mm,
like molest her, and then she killed them, and it just she did her thing, she got her revenge for her family, and like just that connection between like the RZA and the Wu-Tang Clan, and then anime and animation, all those things, like my love for those things are drawn together because the the behind the scenes of Afro Samurai, where the RZA was doing anime soundtracks, that's what made
mm.
me become a music producer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I make a lot of boom bap beats. That's one of my inspirations.
What is the name of it? No, it's not. Okay, come on. It was Tokyo. I don't know why I keep thinking Tokyo Riders, but I don't think it's Tokyo Riders.
I remember a new show that's really good. Do you like the butterfly effect and different types of like time travel anime? I mean time
Y-
travel movies.
Yes, I love Butterfly Effect, the first one. The second one was okay, but the first one I loved that with Ashton Kutcher.
Now,
Yeah.
there's this anime out right now called Tokyo Revengers, and it has my favorite time travel system that I've ever seen because the way time travel works within Tokyo Revengers is there's the main character, right? His name's Takamichi, right? And he's 26 years old and he's a fuck up, you know. He's
Mm,
not. He never even had a girlfriend except for the girlfriend that he had in middle school. Like he's an incel, right? And he's in a position where one day he sees that she died on TV, and this just does something to him to where he's just really messed up because that's the only girl he ever liked that ever liked him back, right? So one day he's going out to the train station and somebody pushes him off the train tracks. And instead of dying, his consciousness, his mind jumps back into his 12-year-old body when he's in like the sixth grade or something, right? Or
Hmm.
12, 14-year-old body. I think maybe 14-year-old body when he's in middle school, right? And or middle school or high school. But when he jumps back into that mind state, his mind is in his body, but it's moving. The present and the past are moving concurrently. So all the time that he spends in the past, he's changing the future, but his same consciousness is in his mind. So his body is a vegetable in the future, while his body in the past is still moving forward. So every time he jumps back into his mindset in the present is changed due to things he changed in the past. But every time he goes back to the present, his age and mindset that he had at that age, without, you know, knowing what mindset he was in when his mind shifted over,
Hmm.
is running concurrently. So every time he jumps back is like a 12-year jump, and that 12-year jump is going forward on two separate timelines. So it's just the way it works is dope. So his
Hmm.
goal is to save the life of this girl who was killed, right? And to do it, he joins this gang, right? Or he was part of the gang, but he didn't really do much. So he has to overcome his fear because he's really insecure and doesn't have a lot of confidence. He has to overcome his fear to go back into the past and to try to save the life of this girl and to save the life of his friends. And every time he goes back, it's like somebody different done died or she done died, and he couldn't.
Oh yeah, that sounds a lot like butterfly effect with a twist. That's what that is. I think I found it. Damn, I never seen it. What is this? Tokyo Tribe. That's
Try
the
to
name of it.
trying to get on this charger before my phone dies. I'm gonna come back in here regardless if I can.
All right.
But if you gotta go to sleep, I might still be on here talking with
No,
you.
I was Tokyo Tribe. That's the name of it.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the name. I know it was Tokyo something. It's called Tokyo Tribe. I'm curious to see that movie because I like the way that one of the guys looked like he could be black, but he might not be. But because he looks like he could be black, I want to watch it.
You know what? That's dope. I got some things planned right now. I got like some friends that are graphic designers. You know, like I got my bro Kage design because I got some merch already, but it's just more so for me, for admins. Like for me and baby girl, we'll wear it when we go to like an event or something like that. Or sometimes I'll wear it when I perform, or sometimes I'll wear it like doing like live reactions or something. Or I just wear it just on a regular basis, like my
Yeah,
bro Kage t-shirt, my bro Kage mask and stuff, right? But
yes.
I'm trying to find some people to do things like this. Like you see this right here. This is the cover photo for my group Brokage on Facebook, and that's the design that I had. My homeboy, the one who typically does the podcast with me. Me
Mhm.
and him, we sat up one night and we got this design done, that Brokage logo, right? And I'm trying to get this logo with some black wash characters. That's Kakashi from Naruto. Get the black wash characters and do it like
Yeah.
that. Put them on some t-shirts and just have more designs, more flair to go with it. Let me see
I
if I,
thought that I thought it looked familiar. I don't know those characters, but that Naruto design with on the headband
yeah. And this
or
right
the
here,
what?
the design I had inverted it. I went and took the design and I inverted it so I could put it on black t-shirts. And that's like the inverted Brokage sign, and that's what I got on like a t-shirt and face mask and stuff like that. So I'm trying to sell some of that stuff, but right now, although I'm trying to sell that stuff, I'm really just more so just wearing it. But I want to get some more designs, then I'll put more energy into try to sell it. But like black wash characters like this right here, you know what I mean, Cowboy Bebop, but really I'm thinking of
Right.
like placing it with my own head because my bald head and beard is beautiful when all that black shit going on.
Right. Um, I want to get into uh Attack on Titan.
Listen,
I
you will.
finally watched a clip of that, and now I understand what it's supposed to be. And now I'm like, yeah, I want to watch it because before I was like, it don't even sound like anything worth watching, you know. And then I seen a clip of it. And oh, might be interesting. Might be good.
It is like the thing about Attack on Titan that really attracted me to it was, I'm really into Enochian mythology. So seeing Titans and giants and stuff automatically made me want to watch, right?
Mhm,
Automatic. I watched it when it first came out, but it
mhm.
has one of the deepest twists and storylines. And I don't want to spoil too much about it, but what I will say is there's the concept of good and evil is very skewed, and it's a very dark show. There's not a whole
Right.
lot of happy
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah,
And
I saw where I guess the giant was trying to eat somebody, and they were like, "No, don't eat him." And I was like, "What the fuck? It's crazy."
I'll say this: this is one of the only shows that I've watched that genuinely surprised me with what happened. Like, it's rare that I'm actually surprised anytime I watch an anime because it's like I kind of already know what's going to happen. Certain tropes just are pretty consistent, but with
Hmm.
Attack on Titan, like the foreshadowing, the illusions are there. There is a certain level of concurrent storytelling that Isayama does. I believe Isayama is the one who created Attack on Titan. I gotta double check. I'm pretty sure it's Isayama, but it's a
Hmm.
certain way that he tells stories to where he has certain motifs of he'll like have two different characters with two different points of views who have the same mindset and like contrasting the way that we see things as evil when they're in our opposition, but we give ourselves a pass for having the same mentality towards others when they're not opposition, or when they are opposition. So
Hmm.
that's a very powerful thing. There's also
Okay.
this concept of what it means to be free. Like freedom is a very big aspect of Attack on Titan. Like just what it means to be free. Uh, it's a lot of things that go along with it that are dope. There's also like the origin of where the Titans came from. It's a
Hmm.
crazy thing, and there's a lot of twists and turns that are unexpected.
Yeah.
So if you like something
Okay.
that's deep and psychological, then
Hmm.
you love Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan is it? Okay. I think I'm definitely one day I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna check it out. Well, good brother. You have a good night. Hope others get to join in, and y'all have a much better dialogue. Or maybe the next time you have one, I won't. I'll have more time.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
All right.
if not, I'll catch you in the back chat.
All right, no doubt, no doubt.
All
With
right, have a good one, little brother.
oh, you be good, Paul. Thanks for calling in.
No problem.
So, yeah, there's a few anime that just really stick out to me. Certain experiences that I've had. Like Bleach was the first anime that got me invested enough to watch it outside of like when it comes on TV. You know what I mean? Outside of just catching it when it comes on. Bleach was the first anime that really got me to say, I'm about to take my black ass online and find the episodes to the show. And when I first started watching Bleach, it was during the Soul Society arc. I think it was back in like 2006, right? 2000, I think like 2006. I was watching the Soul Society arc, and that's really when the show kicked off. But I had to go to the internet, the websites back in the day where it was just whatever. And when I went to those websites, I started back over and I watched all the episodes and I started over and I caught up to Bleach around the episode 177 is when I caught up to Bleach. Around the episode 177. I don't remember what episode that was, but that's the episode I caught up on, right? And it's just been a big part of my life since then. The friendship between Chad and Ichigo was something that always stuck out to me. Like I always loved the relationship, that friendship between Chad and Ichigo. I also loved the way that Tight Kubo developed his power system and the skill set of the characters. The character designs really stood out to me so much. The backgrounds, the way he named the characters. Like like I can't read kanji, but there are certain aspects of how the kanji was written for the Bleach characters that had certain nuggets and tidbits and hidden things about the characters and their personalities, just slight little changes, right? Like there's all kind of examples. What else did I like about Bleach? Just the different world building was just amazing to me. I love that the power system was built around swords primarily because I like sword anime way more than I like gun anime. That's just is what it is. Just like I don't feel like watching Star Wars unless people are lightsaber fighting. I love lore. I love lore. I love it. But I'm more fascinated with the idea of getting up close and personal and being a warrior who has some type of sword where you're going mano for might, strike for strike with somebody to get them up out of there instead of just that long distance just shooting at somebody type of thing. Don't get me wrong, there are some cool gun anime like Trigun. I enjoy Trigun, but for the most part, I prefer when it's sword to sword action. So just creating the Serete with this motif of it being about Japan, and then you have the Quincy where it has more of this German thing. That was dope. And then you have Hueco Mundo and the Espada. That was more a Spanish motif. You know, having a different culture to represent each of these major factions within Bleach was a very powerful concept to me. I wonder what it's going to be like in the Hell arc. Like, what type of language are they going to use to explain things in Hell? Because of course, there were also characters who were Espada who may have had more of like, uh, well, no, it's more so Spanish with them, right? But there's also like German things with them too, like Grimjow, Jaggerjack. That's more of a German name, But and I'm not sure if Xyloporo is a Spanish name or if that's a little bit German. But for the most part, Hueco Mundo and the Hollows, they were working more so on a motif of Spanish, right? Spanish culture. And that's why a lot of their music was also Spanish, like guitar music that was being played when it came to Hueco Mundo. And then when we talk about the Soul Society arc, people were garbed in kimonos. They had katanas. Their asauchis were kimonos. Their Zanpak toes were katanas, and that was just their baseline platform. And I think that those motifs were just dope. They were dope. And then when you have the Quincy, when we get into this Thousand Year Blood War arc, you have the Ashvalin, you have Hashwalls, you have all these different things that are just very German. You have the Stern Rider, you know what I mean? You have all these different German names for these different abilities and these different characters that I just think is super dope. I just think it's really dope the way it's set up. And I wonder what it is where a lot of Japanese people, it's like it's either going to be Japanese and it's like second place is German. I don't know if it has something to do with the world wars or something. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But there seems to be just this connection for a lot of mangakas between Japan and Germany, right? That's one thing. Just like when you think about Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brother, which is probably one of, if not the greatest anime or most well-rounded anime that you can really watch. Great amount of episodes, great storyline, great pacing, great action, some romance, great comedy, great art, great power system. All those different elements take place in. It's really a show that's set in Germany in a separate timeline and world than one of the world wars. That's kind of how it's set up. I believe it's the first or the second world war. And one of the Full Metal Alchemist movies really expresses that. I don't remember the name of which movie it was, but it was like in that separate world, outside of the one that was built on alchemy, there was one that was built more on technology. So instead of using alchemy as their power system, it was this regular world that we stay in where, they had all these different types of weapons and stuff. So that was a dope movie. I enjoyed it. I did. But there's just this connection between Germany and Japan that's pretty dope. But there were just certain characters, just the way that Tai Kubo would name the abilities or name the Zanpakuto, like Kyoka or like I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like the reflection of something off of the moon off of the water, and that idea of looking at the reflection or looking at the reflection of the moon on the water and thinking that the water is the moon. It's like how Kyoka would take control of a person's perception, their five senses, if they're in a situation where they are viewing, if they've been exposed to seeing Kyoka in a Shikai form, then it would have permanent, excuse me, it would have permanent control over their senses unless they've touched the blade when it was activated, when it was in the Shikai form. And I think it's just dope. Like I love Ichimaru, right? It's like the characters are so complex when it comes to Bleach. Like Genichimaru, he was a character who was like a snake in the grass. That was just his personality. It's just who he was. But he wasn't evil for like for that entire time, right? He was really trying to find an opportunity to strike Aizen down, and he was willing to keep his enemies closer than even his friends, right? So that he could find an opportunity to try to take care of this evil. And he tried to take that opportunity. It didn't work, but it almost worked if it wasn't for the Hogyoku evolving Aizen, right? And also, one of my favorite aspects of Tai Kubo is his ability to create an overpowered character and then to find a way to beat them, right? And it would always have either a cost or it would have to be creative. Like the way that Ichigo beat Aizen, had to lose all of his powers to defeat Aizen. And Aizen still wasn't dead. He was still alive, because he's immortal. The Hogyoku effectively made Aizen immortal, but Ichigo still found a way to beat Aizen using Mugetsu. But although he was able to defeat Aizen using Mugetsu, he had to lose all of his powers in the process. It's just this concept of responsibility and taking, like Ichigo, kind of like a Christ-like figure. He had to take that responsibility on himself, even though it low key wasn't his fucking problem, right? That's the Soul Society. But you also have to think that Aizen was eventually going to go after the Soul King and all this other shit that was going on. And that makes things even more sketchy when you think about that aspect of things, because them noble families in Bleach really wasn't shit. They really wasn't. But when you get even more deep into Bleach, then you see that like Ichigo really part of the Shiba clan, and it makes sense because of how much those characters look similar. Like Kai and Shiba look just like Ichigo, but with black hair. You know what I mean? Most of them had black hair, but then you look at Ichigo's father, and I'm pretty sure Ichigo's father had black hair as well. And it's just the Shiba clan, the Getsuga Tensho being something that runs in the family. You know, like the foreshadowing that Tai Kubo used was crazy. Just like how Old Man Zangetsu was really Yuhavak from 1,000 years ago, and just in his subconscious was his Quincy powers that were holding him back. If you look in like the earlier chapters where Zangetsu said his name, Old Man Zangetsu said his name, he had his name blocked out, right? It's like it's so much foreshadowing, right? When you find out that Ichigo has Quincy powers, if you look back into the earlier chapters of Bleach, you'll see that his blanket has a Quincy cross on it. There's so much foreshadowing in Bleach that this shit doesn't make sense, man. It's really crazy. And then you really see that, Ryoken and Ishin, they knew each other. They had a certain connection to one another. Maybe not the closest of friends, but they knew each other. So it wasn't like Ishin was in the dark. One thing I also love about Bleach is really one of the only anime you can think of where the main protagonist has an active father who's still alive and in his life, right? That's something to think about right there. It's really something to think about. He was very powerful himself as really someone who was meant to be like the head of the Shiba clan, but then he had to make that sacrifice of his powers in order to keep Masaki alive, because the thing about Quincy's is that Quincy's are, they're pretty much allergic to hollows. Like hollows are poisonous, or poisonous or venomous, right? When it comes to Quincy's. So that's why they kill the hollows, right? So when Ashvalin happened, and Masaki lost her abilities, and then she came across, was it Grand Fisher or the Hollow White, and then the Hollow White, infused with Ichigo in the womb, and then Ichigo ended up having his Shinigami powers mixed with the Hollow White, which is an experiment that I believe was done by Aizen, and then Aizen was like, I did this whole plan myself. It's like the storyline is so dope. It's so dope. Like the simplest things in Bleach can be broken down into great conversations. Like let's say we're talking about the Bankai of Shunsui in that stage play. That's amazing to me. Let's say we're talking about the four different abilities. Like I love overpowered characters. Let's say we're talking about Sanka no Tachi. Sanka no Tachi is a crazy ability, like hotter than the sun. Having these invisible flames, taking all these flames, and just the concept of his Ryatsu, uh, taking the form of flames and burning up all the vapor and burning all the water out of the air in the Soul Society. That's crazy. And then when we get into the Hell arc, and if you staying up to date, the Hell arc is going on right now. You got Kazui Uchiha, able to turn into a Shinigami without leaving his physical body, which is some crazy shit. You know what I mean? And then we also got things like and then we also got things like learning that the console, not the console, but there's a certain ritual that's done when captains die in Bleach, right? And when that ritual is done, their Ryatsu is too great to keep in the Soul Society without throwing off the balance of the worlds. So when captain level, like, people die in the Serite, they have to be sent to hell. Like not Hueco Mundo, they have to be sent to hell, and their Riatsu is sent there. So it's like there's a whole new way of trying to deal with all the stuff that's going on. Because for a long time, although hell was there, people also would look at like Bleach and see Hueco Mundo as the representation of hell. But you also got to understand that within Bleach lore, it's really based off of uh, uh, like Hinduism and stuff. So there's like six different realms in Hinduism, and let me see if I remember the realms within Bleach. I know we got the real world, or the world of the living, the Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, Hell, and I'm sure there's some other ones I forgot about off the top of my head. I need to make a video about that itself. Like I do need to make a video about that itself, but I got to do a little bit more research before I do that. A little bit more research before I go there with it. But when I say that people view Hueco Mundo as the Bleach version of hell, even though Bleach has its own hell, this is an example right here. This is a fucked up. I mean, man, this shit is hilarious, right? It's like somebody said, got a guide the queen to the Soul Society, then, and what Kisuke Urahara and Queen Elizabeth, and then it says that bitch going to Hueco Mundo. Niggas ain't got no chill, and I love black people because we really don't care about how people feel when we make our memes. It's joke time. It's time to joke on these niggas, and I'm happy about that, right? But good news: Bleach will air in 4 anime seasons with 45 to 50 episodes. I don't know if that's 45 to 50 episodes per season, or if that's 45 to 50 episodes overall. But either way, I'm happy. But I will say this: 4 seasons of like 10 episodes, or you know what I mean, or uh, I don't know how I feel about that right there. I do not know how I feel about 10 episode seasons for an anime. That feels too much like some American shit. But I still am yet to watch the previews because I want to do live reactions to the trailers for this upcoming Bleach season. I've seen how it looks, and there is a good bit of like a little color change. The way this lighting and the line work is done, it just looks like it's on a completely different level. It's been 10 years since. Bleach has had an episode. It's been 2012 is when Bleach was canceled. Last time Bleach was out, I wasn't really getting no pussy like that. I had a full edge up. You know what I mean? I had a lineup. I've been Man, listen, I've been pretty much bald since 18. Yes, I've had an edge up between then a little bit, but that motherfucker was on his way out the door. Last time Bleach came out with new episodes, I had a full edge up. That shit is ridiculous. That's a long time. So I'm really excited to see Bleach. There's been a lot of broken promises, a lot of hurt, a lot of disillusionment, a lot of disenfranchisement. All types of shit. My feelings was hurt every single year. All this deception, all these lies. They like, oh yeah, Bleach about to come back. Bleach about to come back. You hear it so many times, you don't even believe it no more. I felt the way about Bleach that Frank Ocean fans feel about this nigga coming out with a new album. You know what I mean? It's like this nigga do anything. This nigga drop a cock ring before he'll drop a new album, and it is what it is, right? But let me see if anybody's gonna be coming in. If it's hard to hear, let me know. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get my audio a little bit better. Also, if y'all want to join in on the stream yard, I might stay on for a little bit longer, but I'm about to get off here too long because I like to hear you talk, right? If you don't like to, who is? So, you know, this is Bro Kage Podcast 4 and the man chill. I'm out.